Hi. So, welcome to the second week of co-parenting during the holidays. So, you just got through one holiday. And so, let's learn from that holiday and set up the next holiday so that you can improve on it. So, remember, parenting and life and raising a family is a journey, it's not perfection. And so, you get to keep working on it. And just like I always tell my clients, like, just like therapy, you can go back I can go back as a clinician and say, "Last week we talked about this, and I don't think I handled that well," or, "I'd like to add something to that," or, "I wondered if you wanted to say more about that." So we can do the exact same thing in our families, is we can keep improving on the things that we're working on with our kids and with our exes, and we can try to get better. So it's not an end all game. It's not the end of the game. I'm trying to get myself into a better spot here on the screen. Um, so if you felt like there was something that you could do better with your parenting and with your kid, or if you felt like your kid was struggling in a certain way, or maybe this wasn't your holiday that you spent with your child and you kind of had a lot of feelings that came up for you, of sadness or just not knowing how to manage yourself well or manage the calls that you had with them well, this is a time to continue to work on this. This isn't a one and done. You can get better at this. And you can also, without saying too much of adult information and your own process, because we don't want to parentify our kids, like having our kids feel like they're taking care of us emotionally. We really want to watch that balance. Like your kids are not taking care of you emotionally, but they can be aware of you emotionally, and you can translate that your emotions or your emotional challenges are not their challenges and that you are handling them and getting support on them with other adults that help you and have good boundaries around that so that your kid gets to be a kid. So remember that. That was all in parentheses. Um, and so if you go into this holiday season, this part of the holiday, there's a break, school break, there's lots of activities at school that are coming up. Relatives are coming in or wanting to be around your kids during the holidays. There's a lot of that. So let's just for 1 second imagine, what does all of this feel like as it's coming down the pike to you? And just take a minute and breathe into your body and let your body tell you how it is doing with all of that's coming. And let's slow down those thoughts. We can't do anything with being bombarded by thoughts, but we can do everything with just being able to pause and absorb and contemplate. We can do everything with that. So let's do some just reflection. Taking a few breaths in your body and just see the parts of your body that might feel a little strained and just breathe into them. They're going to give us information. That part of your body will definitely give you information and might be a part of your body that you keep track of when you're making plans because it might tell you something like, this is too much. I have to make this simpler. This makes me nervous. I already feel like I have a ton of work on my shoulders and this is going to put a ton more. So let's just get the messages from that part of our body. And and then let's see what's going to bring you some kind of peace and contentment and simplicity in the holidays so that you can focus on what's really important. Should we identify what's really important first? What's really important to you? And there may be like certain traditions that you want to make sure that you follow or redo or have with your kids or your family, that you want to make sure you retain those. Those were important to you in the marriage and in the family that you shared, and they're still important to you. And there may also be what's new is new traditions, because new traditions can really help us to grow and change and express like a different feeling to our kids. Like, we're going to do this differently. Maybe that was the thing that was so taxing or took so much work or so much energy out of you. So part of our presentation to our kids is I talked earlier in another video about just being in the flow, just being a little bit more present with the day to actually like mark a few moments of the day that are going to be really important to you. And maybe that when your kids are on break, you really want to connect with them in the morning and have a big breakfast that you don't normally get to have because everyone's running out the door. Or you wanna make sure that even if you're having to do some work at home, that you stop and do something that you don't normally do with your kids, like take a walk to the park or bake something or sit down with them and, read or watch what they're doing or something like that, something simple or organize their room or help them wrap something if that's what they're doing. But to take some time more than usual to just be around in a different way with your kids. And also just take a little bit of time to be with yourself. And I'm saying a lot of things to you right now, like, let's slow it down, let's take more time. And time is a funny thing because sometimes we feel like there's no time. And I always know that this relationship that I have with time is a very interesting one, that the more I give myself time, the more time I have. And I feel like one of the reasons why that equation works well is because when I give myself more time, I actually have more energy and things don't seem so overwhelming. When I don't have time and I can't give myself time, I think I lose a lot of time in worry and I lose a lot of time with trying to get things done quickly because there's no time and I don't have any time and then it goes on and on. So so see what your relationship with time and not having enough time is about, and see if you can somehow figure out how to do that ratio of time a little different with yourself over this holiday season. So I always like to think about this in my day that I start my day off thinking about how much energy do I want to have at the end of the day and for what? Um, so it's not like to crash on the couch and watch a series and just like binge out because I haven't had a second to myself that day. That's not for me, that's not a really good goal. That's like a surrender. Like I missed it, right? I missed the goal of feeling like I had more energy for myself at the end of the day. Like I just crashed and burned or something. So if you were going to think about just even today, like if you have a little bit more energy at the end of the day, what would that look like? And how could you start um, reserving some of that energy now in your day? How could you start reserving a little bit of energy right now? Maybe you could do something for yourself and not try to pack a few more things in or finish work right on time and do your emails later in the day. Maybe it's like, no, I'm going to actually do something different and give myself some more space instead of cramming myself up with stress. Stress takes up a lot of time, that's a time sucker, I think, is stress. So, anyways, think about that as for today. Like, how can you imagine having a little bit more energy at the end of this day for something that would replenish you instead of like having nothing at the end of the day? So, how would that work for you? And now getting back to the holidays, how can we translate into the times that you're gonna be with your kids? How can you give yourself more time during that time so that you feel the luxury of time? Like, "Oh, I can hang out with my kids and just imagine that we have all the time in the world." I when I was, probably one of my very first jobs that I had, not well, the first half a dozen jobs I had, one of them was very important because I learned a really great skill from this doctor that I worked with, and he was, just a very brilliant healer and very empathetic man, and he just had quite a following of people and a room full of people, and he was always behind schedule. He was one of those doctors that people really waited for. And the reason why they waited for him, I remember because I used to be in the room with him when patients came in, was because when the patient walked in the room, it was if he had all the time in the world with them, and he gave them his full attention. And I would actually even look at the time and say, they waited like an hour and they got him for 7 minutes, but I would have sworn that they felt so satisfied with the time that they interacted with him, and he slowed down so much just energetically and focused on them so much and listened to them so much, that it was as if time didn't pass at all. So, I remember that so well in my it's, like, really, branded in my memory, and I want you to remember that too, that it is how we manage the quality of spending time with people that's important. So we can have tons of time, but if we really sit, focus, and are fully present and in a joyful state with somebody, then that can seem like, I don't know, golden, 100 years, a memory that you'll always share. So my hope for you is that you look at yourself and your child, um, as if you're projecting the image of both of you on a screen, and you find those moments that you share that are those key moments that you'll be like, "That was one of the sweetest memories of the holiday for me." And I want that, or some of the time I spend with my child, to be the sweetest memories that they have of their time with me too, because that's really what we take away from the holidays. And notice this session, I haven't talked anything about stress and tension between you and your co-parent. I'm talking about you with you and your quality of just interconnectedness with your children and yourself over this holiday season. And it doesn't matter what you're doing or where you're going, but it does matter how you just think about the time and how you want to spend it and how you want to share it and how you want it to pass with this time in your life that you get to have, this gift of spending time with your kid, during a special time of the year. So I'll be back talking to you next week. And I really enjoyed your comments, so keep them coming. I will look forward to talking to you again. Bye for now.